In the heart of what is now Mexico City, beneath the hum of a modern metropolis, lie the remnants of a civilization that once ruled vast lands and shaped the destiny of millions. The Aztec Empire, known to its people as the Mexica Empire, was a towering force in 15th century Mesoamerica. With its grand temples, sprawling cities, complex social order, and fierce warriors, it stood as one of the most powerful empires in the Americas before European contact. At its height, the empire controlled a vast territory through a delicate web of alliances, conquest, and tribute from subjugated peoples. Tenochtitlan, the empire's magnificent capital, was a marvel of engineering and urban planning, an island city rising majestically on the waters of Lake Texcoco, home to hundreds of thousands. Its markets buzzed with goods from across the region. Its priests performed elaborate ceremonies that bound society together. Yet, despite this strength and sophistication, the empire collapsed with astonishing speed in the early 16th century. Within just 2 decades of first encountering Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés, the Aztec Empire was destroyed, its last emperor toppled, and its capital razed. How could such a dominant and advanced civilization fall so suddenly? What forces, military, political, social, and biological, converged to bring an end to the Aztec world? Understanding this fall is not only essential for grasping the past, but also for appreciating the enduring legacy of the Aztecs in modern Mexico and beyond. This is the story of the rise and sudden fall of the Aztec Empire. The story of the Aztec Empire begins with the Mexica people, an indigenous group whose origins are wrapped in legend and history. According to their own traditions, the Mexica were once a wandering tribe, searching for a prophesied land where an eagle perched on a cactus would mark their destiny. This vision led them to the marshy islands of Lake Texcoco in the Valley of Mexico, where in 1325, they founded the city of Tenochtitlan. The site was challenging, swampy, surrounded by water, and initially inhospitable. Yet, through ingenuity and determination, the Mexica transformed it into a thriving urban center, constructing chinampas, floating agricultural gardens that fed their growing population. In the decades that followed, the Mexica steadily grew in power, first as a small city-state among many competing polities in the region. Their rise was shaped by shrewd diplomacy, warfare, and an intricate system of alliances. Most notable was the formation of the Triple Alliance in 1428, a coalition between Tenochtitlan and 2 other city-states, Texcoco and Tlacopan. This alliance allowed the Mexica to consolidate power, defeat rival states, and establish dominance over much of central Mexico. Central to the empire's strength was its sophisticated social and political organization. At the top stood the Huey Tlatoani, or Great Speaker, the emperor who ruled with absolute authority but was supported by nobles, priests, and military leaders. Beneath them, a complex caste system structured society, with merchants, artisans, farmers, and slaves each playing vital roles. Religion permeated every aspect of Aztec life. The Mexica worshipped a pantheon of gods, chief among them Huitzilopochtli, the sun and war deity. Human sacrifice, though shocking to outsiders, was seen as essential to maintaining cosmic order and ensuring the sun's daily journey. By the early 16th century, the Aztec Empire was a sprawling entity controlling over 400,000 square kilometers and ruling a population estimated at around 5 million. Its cities thrived with wealth, culture, and power. Yet beneath this grandeur lay the seeds of vulnerability, setting the stage for the dramatic fall to come. To fully understand the fall of the Aztec Empire, it is essential to grasp the richness and complexity of Aztec society and culture before the Spanish arrival. The Aztec world was one of strict social order, deep spirituality, vibrant economy, and impressive artistic achievement. At the top of society stood the emperor, the Huey Tlatoani, a figure seen as both a political ruler and a divine representative. He was supported by a noble class of warriors, priests, and administrators who governed the sprawling empire. Nobles enjoyed privileges, owned land, and controlled tribute from conquered peoples. Below them were the commoners, farmers, artisans, merchants, and laborers who formed the backbone of Aztec life. Farmers cultivated maize, beans, squash, and chili peppers, often using chinampas or floating gardens, which made the land incredibly productive. Skilled artisans created beautiful pottery, textiles, jewelry, and featherwork, while merchants, known as Poxteca, traveled vast distances to trade goods like cacao, obsidian, and exotic feathers. Markets were central to daily life. The Great Market of Tlatelolco was legendary for its size and diversity, where thousands gathered to buy and sell everything from food to luxury items. Trade networks extended across Mesoamerica, linking the Aztecs to distant peoples. Religion permeated every aspect of Aztec culture. The Mexica worldview saw the universe as a constant struggle between order and chaos, light and darkness. Their pantheon included hundreds of gods, each overseeing different forces of nature and human activity. Chief among these was Huitzilopochtli, god of the sun and war, who required regular offerings to maintain balance. Human sacrifice, though horrifying to many outsiders, was deeply embedded in this religious system. It was believed that the sun depended on the nourishment of human hearts and blood to rise each day. Sacrificial ceremonies were elaborate, dramatic events held atop towering pyramids like the Templo Mayor. Education was highly valued, with children of all classes attending schools. The Calmecac trained future priests and nobles, while the Telpochcali taught commoners warfare and civic duties. Literacy in pictographic writing and knowledge of history and religion were emphasized. The Aztec Empire was a civilization of extraordinary achievements, an intricate society where politics, religion, economy, and culture intertwined, creating a vibrant and resilient world on the eve of its dramatic collapse. Despite its apparent strength, the Aztec Empire in the early 1500s faced mounting pressures, both from external enemies and internal challenges, that weakened its foundations long before the arrival of the Spanish. The empire's expansionist policies had created many enemies. The Mexica ruled through a system of tribute that imposed heavy demands on conquered city-states, which often bred resentment and unrest. Tributes included food, precious goods, labor, and captives for sacrifice. While some cities accepted Aztec dominance, others resisted fiercely. Among the most persistent adversaries were the Tlaxcalans, a fiercely independent group living just east of the Aztec heartland. The Tlaxcalans never submitted to Aztec rule and remained one of the empire's most formidable military opponents. Other hostile groups included the Totonacs and Huexotzincas, who chafed under Aztec control. In recent years before the Spanish arrival, signs of internal strain became apparent. Several tributary states experienced rebellions and uprisings, challenging the authority of the Mexica rulers. Managing such a vast empire stretched administrative resources thin, and the demands of constant warfare drained manpower. Economic strains were also evident. The agricultural system, though advanced, was vulnerable to droughts and flooding. Some regions faced shortages of food or essential materials. The tribute system, while lucrative, also created dependency and tension between the empire and its subjects. Aztec military campaigns, essential for maintaining control and acquiring sacrificial victims, became increasingly difficult as opposition hardened. The empire's enemies were not merely external threats, but included disaffected peoples within its borders ready to seize any opportunity to revolt. These vulnerabilities became critical when the Spanish arrived. The conquistadors would exploit existing rivalries and resentments, forming alliances with indigenous groups like the Tlaxcalans, who sought to overthrow Aztec rule. Thus, while the Aztec Empire appeared at the height of its power, cracks beneath the surface foreshadowed a crisis. A complex interplay of military pressure, political unrest, economic challenges, and social tensions made the empire more fragile than it seemed, setting the stage for its rapid and catastrophic fall. The dramatic story of the Aztec Empire's fall begins with the arrival of a small band of Spanish explorers led by Hernán Cortés in 1519. Cortés, a 34-year-old nobleman and soldier from Extremadura, Spain, was driven by a potent mix of ambition, religious zeal, and the lure of gold and glory. The Spanish crown had granted him permission to explore and claim new lands, and he set sail with just over 500 men, a handful of horses, and a small artillery train. Cortés first landed on the coast of what is now Veracruz, where he quickly established a foothold. His initial strategy was not outright conquest, but alliance building and diplomacy. News of the vast and wealthy Aztec Empire had already reached the Spanish through indigenous trade networks, sparking their desire for riches and power. The expedition soon marched inland, navigating through unfamiliar terrain and encountering various indigenous communities. Some welcomed the newcomers cautiously, while others resisted. Along the way, Cortés skillfully forged alliances with enemies of the Aztecs, most notably the Tlaxcalans, who had fiercely resisted Aztec domination and saw the Spanish as potential liberators. When Cortés and his army finally reached the gates of Tenochtitlan, the capital astonished them. The city was vast and vibrant, with wide canals, towering temples, and bustling marketplaces. The Spaniards marveled at its scale and sophistication, unlike anything they had imagined in the New World. The meeting between Hernán Cortés and Moctezuma II, the Aztec Emperor, was fraught with tension and misunderstanding. Moctezuma received the Spaniards with cautious hospitality, offering gifts of gold and trying to interpret the foreigners through the lens of Aztec prophecy. Some historians believe Moctezuma suspected Cortés might be the returning god Quetzalcoatl, an idea that complicated his response. Diplomatic exchanges masked a deep mistrust on both sides. While the Spaniards sought to assert dominance, the Aztecs were wary of this strange new threat. Cortés exploited these divisions, using diplomacy as a tool for infiltration. He captured Moctezuma II in his own palace, turning the emperor into a hostage and undermining Aztec sovereignty. The Spanish possessed technological advantages unfamiliar to the Aztecs: steel swords, crossbows, firearms, and horses, creatures the natives had never seen before and regarded with awe and fear. Their military strategies combined European tactics with native alliances, multiplying their effectiveness. By weaving together indigenous discontent, superior weaponry, and cunning diplomacy, Cortés laid the groundwork for a conquest that would topple one of the most powerful empires in history. After capturing Moctezuma II, the Spaniards hoped to rule through him, but their presence ignited deep unrest among the Aztec population. Tensions escalated, culminating in the deadly uprising known as La Noche Triste, or the Night of Sorrows, on June 30th, 1520. On this dark night, the Spanish attempted a desperate midnight escape from the city, suffering heavy losses as Aztec warriors poured into the streets, killing many conquistadors and their indigenous allies. Though the Spanish managed to flee, the rebellion had shattered the fragile control they once held. Cortés retreated to Tlaxcala to regroup, strengthening his alliance with native forces opposed to Aztec rule. Months later, Cortés returned with reinforcements, native allies, more soldiers, and European weaponry, and laid siege to Tenochtitlan. The siege, lasting several months in 1521, brought devastating famine and disease to the city's inhabitants. Food supplies dwindled, water became contaminated, and the once great metropolis turned into a city under siege. Compounding the military pressure was the outbreak of smallpox, a deadly disease introduced by the Europeans that devastated the Aztec population. Smallpox spread rapidly among the natives, who had no immunity, killing tens of thousands, including key leaders and warriors, further crippling the empire's ability to resist. The final battle for Tenochtitlan was a grim, desperate fight for survival. Spanish forces, supported by thousands of indigenous allies eager to overthrow Aztec rule, gradually took control of the city's canals and causeways. The urban combat was fierce, street by street, temple by temple. On August 13, 1521, the Aztec capital fell. The last emperor, Cuauhtémoc, was captured, marking the definitive end of the Aztec Empire. The city was systematically destroyed over the following years, its temples dismantled, and its people subjugated. From the ashes of Tenochtitlan, the Spanish founded Mexico City, the capital of New Spain, a colonial realm that would reshape the continent. The fall of the Aztec Empire not only marked the collapse of a great indigenous civilization, but also the beginning of profound cultural and demographic transformations that still echo today. The conquest was a complex event, a collision of worlds that forever altered the history of the Americas. The fall of the Aztec Empire was not simply the end of a civilization. It was a turning point that reshaped the Americas and the course of world history. The conquest set in motion the vast Spanish colonization of the New World, ushering in centuries of profound political, social, and cultural change. Yet despite the destruction and upheaval, the spirit of the Aztecs endured. Their language, Nahuatl, is still spoken by over 1 million people today. Many Aztec traditions, rituals, cuisine, art, and folklore have survived, woven into the rich tapestry of modern Mexican culture. Festivals like Dia de los Muertos blend indigenous and Catholic elements, symbolizing cultural resilience and adaptation. In recent decades, historians and indigenous communities have re-evaluated the narrative of the conquest. Rather than a simple tale of Spanish triumph, it is now understood as a complex encounter of civilizations, marked by violence, resistance, negotiation, and survival. This more nuanced perspective honors the courage of the Aztecs and recognizes the profound loss caused by European colonization. The story of the Aztec Empire's rise and fall remains deeply relevant today. It reminds us of the fragility of even the greatest powers and the enduring impact of cultural exchange, both tragic and transformative. It challenges us to confront history honestly, to acknowledge past injustices, and to celebrate the resilience of those who preserve their heritage against all odds. In remembering the Aztecs, we connect with a powerful legacy, one that continues to inspire and inform the identity of Mexico and the wider world.